Welcome back to one of your favorite soap channels on YouTube. Today I am doing another FAQ style video. This time it's with melt and pour soap, so if you're excited about that or want to know some common questions before you get started, here's the place to be. The first one we have people talking about layering, and there's a lot of different advice about layering, and I will say that different soap bases act a little bit different. I've had experience with this. I've only one time had my soap break apart, and that was because I was using a different base that I feel like just was not good for layering. It was not a clear base. I do remember it was a milk base. But one tip I can say that I don't know if anyone said in these, besides using the rubbing alcohol and scoring the soap and all that, is you wait a little bit for each layer to heat or cool down before you score. So it wants to be just so it has a skin on it. It could be maybe getting a little bit thick. That's a good time to start scoring it. Also, when you cut the soap, you want to turn it on the sides so that you're not cutting and putting a bunch of pressure against the layer. You just rotate your soap. It's really easy. That way, that's the way that I haven't had any soap break. It helped out a lot. So if you're still having trouble, you might try that way. The next question, does heat and humidity cause soap to sweat? Yes, of course it does. So you want to keep that in mind. I like to make my melt and pour soap and let it cool for 3 to 4 hours and then cut and wrap it pretty immediately. So if you can't do that, you probably want to store it in something like maybe a little tiny tote that you have. That will help. If I add castor oil to my soap, will it be good in a lather? You're making melt and pour soap. You really want to think of these as like pre-made cake mixes. As far as soap goes, it's yes, you are still making soap, but everything is already emulsified. All the oils are together. The only thing that you are adding when you make these soaps is any type of fragrance oil. Maybe if you want to add like some sort of coloring or an exfoliant. Beyond that, there is not a ton of stuff that you can add to melt and pour. There are a few things that I didn't list, but I'm not going to get into all of that right now. So you want to keep that in mind if you're doing melt and pour soap. Think of it as like a cake mix, and you are just adding the eggs, mixing it, and then putting it in the oven for a while to cook it. Next one. Where is a good place to buy oils from? I like wholesale supplies plus for these type of oils, not necessarily the fragrance oils, because I can buy them in large bulk. I don't know that I would necessarily use it for melt and pour, but it comes up still in the question a lot. Brambleberry is okay, but I feel like they're a little bit more expensive. You can find all kinds of different retailers out there that will sell it in bulk, but I like wholesale supplies plus the best, or crafter's choice. Soap cutting. Okay, so if you're going to buy a soap cutter, these are really cool and awesome, but just going to let you know they're not typically made for melt and pour soap. The wires on these are not meant to cut through that. There's a very different texture between melt and pour soap and cold process or hot process soap. When it's curing, it's a lot softer. So you don't want to use this. What you do want to use is either a large cutting knife. They make sort of what is it, like anything you would cut cheese with, but not with the strings. So, you know, stuff like that you can use to cut your soap. It is a lot harder. So keep that in mind. You don't really need fancy stuff. I know I've seen some industrial size ones where they have like a thing that you, it's like a chop saw where you just like slap the top of it and it comes down and it cuts your soap. A lot of people say those work really well, but they don't always cut the bar evenly, so they get a little bit wonky, stuff like that. Sometimes it's best to just buy a mold the size you want for melt and pour soap, I'm going to be honest. Okay, can you make money? Yes, you definitely can make money as a soap maker, whether it be melt and pour or cold process, hot process, anything. This I wanted to put in here as a testimonial that it is something you guys can make money at. However, I want you to keep in mind you do have to hustle and grind. Okay, this is not an easy system to make cash. You will get, if you do farmers markets, you will get people and then will come and just buy stuff. That does happen, but it's something that's hard to do. I did online sales for a while. That is possible too. The market's a little bit saturated for some of that, so it is a little bit harder, but definitely something you can do. You just have to figure out how you want to stand out from the crowd. So I just thought I'd share a happy moment. This one talks about a few things that I wanted to cover. So this person made what they thought was some soap dough with melt and pour soap. If you guys are interested in that, I do have a video. It does work, but this is not a good recipe this lady's using. When she made this soap, if you want to read through it, I suggested that she doesn't add, what did she add? Baking soda. So I told her she can maybe turn this into a like a wash for laundry detergent or something like that. The pH level is high, but anywhere between, I think, 8 to 10 is acceptable for soap. I think it's just irritating her skin because she has baking soda in it, quite honestly. So when you do recipes for melt and pour soap, I'm going to be honest, a lot of the times, like I said before, it's just the base and then you're adding a fragrance oil and you're coloring it. The part of the reason that I like melt and pour, that I went to melt and pour, is my design skills sucked. So melt and pour kind of gave me creative freedom to try to design better. So I would say that is something that I like to do with melt and pour. And you can use melt and pour soap and incorporate it in a lot of different other types of products, like people make body scrubs. You'll use melt and pour for that. So there's just different applications you can use it. I think this person just found a bad recipe. So if you're just trying to make things, you might want to watch either a few videos or ask a couple people, hey, I saw this online and does that sound right? So thank you guys for watching. If you like this kind of video, give it a thumbs up. If you learned something today, please give it a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel if you want to see more videos like this. I plan on doing a couple different topics like this, and we'll see how this series goes. So thanks a lot. See you next week.